All right, welcome to yet another episode of the Women's Cricket Podcast. It's episode 29, and we've got a special guest joining us today. It's Vanitha VR, a former India cricketer. We've seen her don multiple hats across her career, from cricketer to coach to scout to broadcaster. It's an absolute honor and a privilege that you're joining us today. Cutting to the chase, we've seen a lot of people talk about women's cricket and the way it's grown, especially in the last 3-4 years. WPL, the T20 World Cup 2020 comes to mind, 2017 ODI World Cup. The results also sort of helped make that push. But what a lot of people don't talk about is how it's also ensured that there's an industry around women's cricket that sort of developed, with a lot of ex-cricketers now finding roles beyond cricket for them to transition, post their careers. This is something that's only going to improve from here, right?
Definitely. I can tell you that there is a very nice ecosystem in place right now. I think that's the right way how I can put it across, saying that the ecosystem is in place for women cricketers and development of women cricketers and for developing the coaches as well. Because earlier, if you see, hardly any women coaches that we had in the circuit, in the setup, who was qualified, who had that skills, to actually coach the in the Indian domestic setup as well. But I think NCA and now COE, it is has played a huge part in terms of actually bringing this ecosystem and educating all the coaches and bringing all of us in the same page. I think that has immensely helping coaches like us, to talk the same language, to speak the same language, and also can we actually imbibe the solid foundation at a very young age, because the demand of the game is such that so these aspects, I think a credit must go to NCA for actually bringing everything under one roof. And they're doing an excellent job so far, and I'm only sure that it is only going to get better and better in terms of education and development of coaches, not only cricket, which they're doing. And another example is winning two back-to-back under 19 World Cup itself speaks that we have a solid quality development cricket going on in the Indian cricket. Along with that, they're also building coaches, and if you look at it, both the winning World Cup coaches was Nushin Alkadir as well, a women coach herself. So there is a lot of bright perspective. But yes, it is the onus is on us now, how we can actually take it forward, because there is a lot of opportunity, there is a lot of opening for a lot of things to do, but it is on us now how we actually carry forward and how we make use of the opportunity given to us.
You spoke about language briefly. Of course, you did not literally mean just language. It's also about, women cricketers or ex-cricketers. They understand women's cricket a lot better than male coaches themselves, as much as they come with their own set of experiences. But when we look at language literally as well, we recently saw Abhishek Nair being made, the first ever head coach, Indian head coach of a WPL side. How important do you think does language play a role, when it comes to especially these franchise leagues? Sure, you get the experience of rubbing shoulders with the best of cricketers, but if that knowledge transfer is not happening, then then the experience probably would not be just as, sweet as it should be.
It plays a huge role. I will not deny that. Communication. I would say more than language. I think communication plays a bigger part. And as coaches, that's the first thing what we focus. Be it the smallest of things. It can be through gesture also, and I always believe that. But yeah, people coming into women's cricket, I think someone like an Abhishek Nair comes in with heaps of franchise experience and comes in with a fresh mindset towards women's cricket. And I think someone like him will play a major role, because I always found him, I've been following him right from playing days. It's just not now. Nair is someone who's been in the circuit, who's seen a lot of domestic cricket, who's seen a lot of developmental cricket also happening. I think he's someone there sitting there, and I'm happy on the other side an Indian guy coming and sitting there as well. I think what I see is this. I feel that women's cricket is getting the recognition. Like earlier, you would only see a certain set of coaches who would take women's cricket, right? But now you see most of the big guys, like someone like Anaya, the big name who was actually recently part of the Indian men's cricket, straight away coming into in women's cricket. I think it shows that there is a lot of scope, and they are looking women's cricket equally. There is no differences, or there's no differentiation between men or women. I think it is looking very pretty much equal, I would say, with these guys coming in. A lot of people are part of it as well. If you actually look at it, the franchise also, the bigger franchises are part of the WPL itself. It only says that the game is actually going upward. There's no barriers as such saying that okay, it's women's cricket and you need to confine to low grade coaches. I think it's a fantastic move of bringing in the top coaches to actually coach your side, because now that we spoke about the communication, I think people have started to understand the game. What is the demand for the in the current situation, in the current scenario? What is the need of an hour? I think everybody started to understand that as well. And of course, your overseas player comes in with a lot of experience because they all are domestic. I mean, they all are international cricketers. But on the other side, when you look at women cricketers, like cricketers in India, right? So you see a lot of like domestic cricketers coming from like through scratch, like literally they've started from scratch, and from there to have reached the setup, I think they have also put in that equal bit of work alongside identifying players. I think the player, I'm talking about the scouting point of view also. Along with that, I think the players are also putting a lot of effort in terms of actually reaching out to bigger coaches and actually trying and extracting what they can actually get from the coaches too.
How would you describe, coaching a men's setup as opposed to a women's setup, right? Because I think, again, I could be making a generalization here that for a lot of men or even boys, right, taking instruction from a woman about like, coaching and the more technical side of things may not come that easy, right? So have you faced challenges like that, or is it just, misconceptions and myths? Yeah.
I just want to take you all back to a little bit of the younger days where we grew up. We've always had a topper being the class leader, right? In a co-ed, it can be a girl or a boy, right? So how do we accept them? How do we accept that? Okay, if it's a female, what is the mindset that we have? Like, okay, that person is eligible, that person is qualified to be there, right? So knowledgeable, so that is why, okay, whether we like that person or whether we don't like that person, but we don't have a choice but to accept it, right? Because they've earned that place. Likewise, my understanding, now that I've done good 2 seasons with the teams, I my understanding is that you need to have that basic knowledge, otherwise you will be looked down. Simple as that. Like when you speak to the bunch of boys, when you speak to the bunch of guys, you need to make sense, otherwise they don't respect you, they don't value you. And before taking this role, and I'm really thankful to the franchise for giving me that, Shimuga Lions for giving me that opportunity actually to take up that. But once, yes, that was given to me when I was made to sit in the helm of things. I think it was all about being very precise. It was all about being more relevant to the game, more relevant to the situation, and of course, the kind of experience that I had. Because before I could take the head coach role for Shimuga Lions, I was scouting for RCB men's team as well. For like I was part of the men's scouting setup as well, so I had a fair bit of idea in terms of how I need to look into the T20 setup. Before I could actually do the Shimuga Lions, I've done quite a bit of TNPL, I've done quite a bit of MPL and Ranji trophies as well. So I understand what the current scenario is. I understand where the current generation of cricket is. So that made it a lot more easier. And of course, there were guys who I've actually played along with too when we were growing up. Someone like Ashreyas and someone like Abhinav and all these guys. We've all played together when we were growing up, so that made it a lot more easier. And that's when I felt that the respect was there, because probably the brand of cricket that I played when I was young also, I felt that I'd earned that respect from these guys, because I always feel that when you play a decent level of cricket, these guys always have that respect for you, saying that okay, this person makes sense. And like I said, it's all about how you conduct yourself in front of these guys. Do you have a solution when they actually come back and fall back? And yes, that is my realization, that is my understanding of handling a men's team and a women's team. And after handling a men's team, I felt really easy coming back into women's setup, because you're prepared, in all aspects, where a women's, like, see, we've grown up playing women's cricket, so that's not a problem for us being in women's setup. But I think doing men's team and being a part of men's team, I think that was more refreshing and experience, I would say, was worth it than anything else.
And probably just to get your understanding a little more too, right? Like just in a professional setup as well, like what is the role of a coach, right? Because again, players have their own, methodologies, ways of training and all of that. So is it very different from that of say a mentor or someone like a performance specialist as well? Like are players open? Are they receptive to like feedback about their game when you're the coach?
See, it depends on the which phase of the team are you handling in. Are you in the preparation phase of the tournament? Are you in the tournament? Are you in what stage of the tournament, right? And and luckily, like I said, a lot of credit goes to NCA because they are keeping us in developmental as well as performance as well simultaneously, which is happening side by side for us through the year. There is a lot of programming and assignment that has been given to us also. So for us, from a coaching point of view, if you ask me, I know how to do a developmental team. I know how to do a performance team now. So both the rules I know how to do because that is how NCA has actually developed us, like giving us various roles. It's just not okay. You go in and do a performance role because this is certain team. But yes, they make sure that we also do a lot of developmental coaching. I think that is very very important because I always feel that if you don't know your basics, you will always struggle to actually understand where is it, why is it happening. Because I feel as a head coach, most of the time you need to have an answer for whys from your players. Players are always going to come and ask why is it happening, what's going on. And as coaches, it is important for us to understand and have certain answers ready. I'm not saying you need to know everything. You, as a coach, I may not be able to give an answer then and there itself, but that is what experience does. I think over the time, I've realized that you need to have a little bit of experience as well as you coach various levels, because you will be dealing a lot of different players, and different players in the sense they come from different backgrounds, they come from different thought process, they come from different culture. And when I was the head coach, that was the priority I made sure I was giving to all the teams, was to set a culture. And when you set a culture, a lot of things I believe neutralizes in the team atmosphere. And I was giving a lot of importance only because, like, I want everybody to start feeling a little comfortable. Only then you will be able to see the performance sort of a players. I'm not saying that is the right way, but I at least felt that there was some success when you start doing these things, because when you're handling elite cricket especially, it is all about man management skills, or rather I would say people management skill. Right, so at that point in time you should know how much to talk, when to talk, where to talk. So these things are very very important. The timing of your conversation, the timing of your interaction, is gonna make a lot of sense. I think over time I've also realized that, because now I'm in my fourth year of coaching, and I think I've to be honest, I've actually seen a lot of plays the last 3 4 years. And I think as a coach I'm also evolving. I think as a coach I'm also getting better in terms of communication. We always felt, I mean, I would say that I always thought I had great communication, but every season that I'm doing is teaching me something better in terms of communication as well. And yes, as a coach, I think that is the biggest learning which is happening consistently through season by season by season, tournament by tournament. Every time I see a different age group of people that I'm handling, I think that's a great learning as well. It's again people management, and of course understanding. There's a lot of psychological and physiological understanding as well that goes in. Like I said, your timing towards having a conversation makes a lot of difference.
Can you also sort of give us more insight on how these things work? You spoke about a few assignments that you've done with the NCA, and that happens all year round. It's not seasonal or off season or something like that. Could you shed some more light on that?
See, last year we did a lot of under 19 developmental camp, which happens normally in the off season, and that is where a lot of core group that we saw, actually the World Cup winning group. I think we were all part of that groups where we got an opportunity to actually coach them for a month, and then followed by that we did a tournament as well. So that is where I feel the developmental part happens in terms of coaching, and then quickly through the season. Obviously, I was with Andhra this season, the last season. Andhra also, like while we were doing different phase of the tournament, that is, I got an opportunity to do the preseason and in season for Andhra, and then in the season I got an opportunity from NCA, that is BCCA also, to be part of the Challenger Trophy teams. I think that was a great opportunity for us to actually see and make sure that the gap, what we call the bridge, we were trying to bridge the talent as well as trying to elevate the game between the domestic players and international players. So it was just not the WPL that you actually see, but these challenger trophies actually make a huge difference for player developmental as well, in my opinion, because that is the place where actually a player is completely I wouldn't say judged, but yes, the player is looked into whether he or she has that substantial potential to actually make it big for the next level. I think we were also put in that sort of an assignment for us as coaches also. I think that has also helped me, because like I said, my perspective from last year to this year and my evolution as a coach from last year to this year, there is quite a lot of changes, is because we've been doing a lot of assignments side by side. I am thankful to BCCI and COE for actually giving us this opportunity, because once you are in the elite coaches or part of the coaching core group, I think you are exposed to a lot of things, and that is the kind of exposure we were looking at, and that's exactly what we're getting now from NCA as well.
Yeah, I mean, something like the Challenger Trophy, if memory serves me right, I remember last year ahead of the auction, with that T20 Challenger Trophy that had happened, there was so many people talking about, say, Nandini Kashyap was the highest run scorer. Then, so clearly there's a lot more, chatter around these domestic tournaments as well. It's not just the WPL that's making all the right noises. How is it, coaching a professional side versus an amateur side? When I say amateur, of course, I use it a bit loosely here. For instance, since you've been the head scout for RCB at the WPL, you would have closely worked with the coaching setup there. You've been a part of the coaching setup at the Shivamogga Lions. How does it work? Because clearly the teams are at different phases. The tournaments are slightly different. The objectives would be slightly different. So how is it different from both these setups?
See, it's very simple. If you ask me, what is that the team wants from me? What is the team agenda? What is the philosophy of a team? Right. If I have to just talk about, for example, RCB, right? They when we all sat in to pick the team, right? So what was the idea behind making a team? Right. So idea and the thought process behind making a team. You wanted to play certain brand of cricket, right? When you sit down and put these thoughts, when you sit down and put these things, it becomes a lot more easy to pick the kind of squad that you're looking at. If you are obviously, like, if you are going to go, I'm not saying not every team is thinking about this, but then, like I said, when you really want to accommodate, because by now I've done about closer to four auctions, two of WPL and two of Shimoga Lions. So my understanding here is like, yes, auctions can be a little lucky and tricky, but before that, if you could just lay down what is that you're actually looking at, if you want more all-rounders, or do you want more batting strong side or a bowling strong side, I think, or a mix of it, rather a balance of it, or more batters, or more based on your proficiency, that again comes to what is that you want as a team, what is that you're trying to achieve as a team. I think when you all put this down, right, I think you will be able to make the best team. And one best thing what I learned from RCB is, Malolan especially, I think he's thrown a lot of light in terms of how to pick a proper squad. Every time we sit there, he will make sure that he gets the best out of you by actually drilling the maximum, like he challenges you. And I think that is something which I really enjoyed working with Malolan, especially because every time you put in a squad, it'll be like, we are supposed to put three, four best squad. When there is three, four best squad, there's no chance that you will miss out on the best players, and that's exactly why you saw RCB actually going out there, having the best team, and second season winning it was just not by chance. It was actually by choice that was made as and when which was needed by the management to pick the best squad. And yes, on the other side, when I was doing Shimoga franchise, it was very clear, the instruction given by the franchise, that he wants more all-rounders. And if you look at it actually on the franchise list, we had more all-rounders. We ended up having more all-rounders. I think that is where the smartness comes, like in terms of what, like I said, your agenda. Like RCB had another agenda, they had another philosophy which they wanted to clearly back, and they eventually did well. On the other side, when I talk about a franchise like Shimoga Lions, they were very keen on buying more all-rounders, because our owners always believed that having more all-rounders will is going to help the game, because he is someone who believed 83 World Cup, and he always mentions about 83 World Cup. So
That's
I think I
correct.
think I think that that is where he comes from, and we have to back that philosophy that he has, because end of the day we work for the franchise, right? So what has been asked by the franchise owners is something for us to actually deliver. And I clearly believe that is where, as coaches, also you are challenged, because you need to be ready to make those changes and be ready to take those calls as well.
So do you think somewhere the coaching side of things really helps you, with your talent identification? I mean, just talk us through the process of being a scout. Like, are there certain parameters that you look out for, certain talent? Do you have like a database that you keep updating? Like, how does it work for you? Just out of curiosity.
I think in India everyone can scout, isn't it? even
All over
even
Zach.
even
All
a
over.
layman, even a layman on the road, I think has an opinion about cricket. I think that's the place where we live in. I mean, no offense, but that's the love for game what we see by the people for cricket. I mean, jokes apart, yes, I strongly feel that you need to have some sort of eligibility or criteria to actually be sitting in that role, because the game is evolving as such that you need to understand um, the person. Like, see, scouting is completely different from national selections, right? Why? I'll tell you. Scouting is, like I said, it's about role definition. Like, this role, do we have that player who can fit in for us, right? For example, I can say, do we have a player who can actually score 8 balls 15 runs, 8 balls 20 runs? Do we have such player, right? So I'm just giving you an example, right? And then on the other side, do we have somebody who can actually bowl those death overs? Do we have someone who can actually just bowl the power play, or do we have someone who can bowl all phase for us? So these are, I'm just giving you an example of how detailed we look into. It's just not vaguely that we go by names and say, okay, so and so is there, so we're going to pick that. No, it's not that. So and so player, do they have a role in the kind of team that we already have? Or this is what I'm looking at, like a net coach puts down, okay, this is what my thoughts are. So do we have players like this? So that is when we as scouts come into picture, and say, okay, this is the player that we have. And that is where you see the very first season we had a lot of uncapped players for WPL, right? That is because of the math that we did. It is not something that I was actually, I mean, to be very honest, I can proudly say that I probably gave the best uncapped players what any franchise could ever ask for. Like, they all went on to play for country. That's another milestone actually for us, for identifying talents. And like I said, if you look at it, the first season they never had figures to back them. Actually, they never had that much performances to actually back them. But then that is where you need to have a good eye to find and spot talents. Can they do it? It's not about flamboyance. It's not about that. It's that spark that you see in a player. Like, do that player have it in her? Like, can she go and deliver? Can she handle pressure? Can she handle an Ismail actually bowling 125 right at her body? So these are the aspects what you need to consider. Yes, while playing domestic, you may not be seeing a Ismail bowling against a batter, right? But that's your understanding, and that's where your wisdom comes in as a scout, saying that, is she ready to play that level, or is she ready to play or handle the international bowlers or batters? So that understanding you need to have, and again it comes from the wisdom of playing and obviously understanding. And now that I mean, before I could get into scouting only, I was into coaching, so that also helped me to identify some of the actually exciting players that we found as well.
This is also me speaking as an RCB fan, so there will be a bit of bias. So disclaimer in advance. But a lot of people were just focusing on the star players that were bought and not the lesser known names, for obvious reasons, because they are lesser known. Not a lot of people knew about it. But the fact of the matter is, in the last 3 years, RCB has given the most debutants to Team India. And nothing can change that. You spoke about the kind of names that have come in. Kanika Hoja comes to mind. Shreyanka Patil comes to mind. Asha Shobna comes to mind. And again, when it comes to Asha, I'm not even kidding. One of my distinct memories of You Vanitha was in the auction when Asha was bought. I still remember you were chuffed to bits. I, of course, did not know much about it because nothing was being streamed. We don't know who these players are. We're just looking at these names and we're wondering, okay, is she good? Is she not good? How do we get to know more about them? We're looking at their Instagram handles, looking for clips, just something that we can see. And I just, yeah, okay, you know what? She seems very excited for her. I guess this is a good player. Coming to the scouting bit itself, Vanitha, how much of an involvement would you as a head scout have, in in-game tactics? For instance, there are certain players that you think are really good for the roles that you've picked them for, but they're not being picked for whatever reason, might not be fitting into the playing 11 or some reason. Like Asha only comes to mind. First game she played, then unfortunately did not get a lot of games in the inaugural season, and we all were wondering why. Do you have any say there, or your role is limited to off the season before the season begins?
I think there was also a role given to me when I was the fielding coach as well with the team by Mike and Malo. That is to communicate with the players very clearly, saying that so and so player will not be playing is because of the combination obvious reasons, and of course they are also pretty new to the circuit as well. So they needed that game time, they needed that space to be in the atmosphere to soak in things and to absorb things as well. But look, yes, we did realize that the second season that yes, we need a little bit of experience as well. That is why you see in the second season there was a lot of changes in terms of actually going after an experienced player. So it's only because of that, because youngsters, yes, they are good, but then you need to have that experience beside you or behind your back. It's only because for you to respond to situations, it's not easy to go out there and actually being a rookie. Yes, it helps once in a while, but not all the time. And that is something which we all felt at that second season. That is why you will see a lot of senior players were bought in. A lot of we had to replace the youngsters and get the senior players. Obviously we didn't have the funds also the first season that we did. It was because of funds as well that we had to buy a lot of 10 lakh players in the first season. It was fortunate that they actually did well and they sustained in the team, but then the whole idea was they did well. So otherwise, you would have seen that 2 3 players also would have changed along with a lot of other newcomers as well. So it was fortunate that they grabbed it, like they grabbed their opportunity. But again, I always feel that in a tournament like this, you need youngsters, but yes, at the same time, you need experience as well, which is very, very important. Youngster cannot be taking primary roles. At least at the moment, they're not ready, and that is exactly why a team like UP Warriors struggled to make an impact in the WPL. Is simply because the primary roles has been given to younger guys with no exposure or no experience at all in the international circuit, and that is one of the reasons why I thought UP Warriors failed to capitalize on the strong overseas core group that they actually built. I think probably they had the best overseas core group, but despite that, they could not build a team around them. Was only because the primary roles and a major chunk of the responsibility was given to Indian, and not only Indian international cricketers but Indian domestic cricketers. I think that is where UP Warriors has failed majorly, and that mistake I think Gujarat Giants changed the last year. I think that is where they were a better team compared to the first 2 years. In the sense they were still backing the experienced players, but a lot of people were cutting and chopping. Like they bought in more capped players the next 2 3 years. So it is important to actually have and understand that in especially women's cricket, it's not like men's cricket. Like the capped players are as good as your first 6 7 years of domestic cricket, because that is the experience that they have, that is the exposure, and that is the understanding that they have. So I would, for me, in my head, I would clearly say a no to somebody who's just 2 or 3 years old in the domestic circuit, because I would rather have them play more games, evolve with time, understand what is the current need of an hour, then straight away put them in. See, yes, 1 or 2 exceptional talents will be there, but majority of them shouldn't be doing this what the other franchise were doing in the last few years.
And again, Vanita, I just wanted to understand this aspect that now that the WPL has come in, do you just sense that the domestic circuit at large has just gotten much more competitive, with respect to larger totals being scored, or even just bowlers, like upping their game to a great extent. Beat pacers, bowling faster, spinners just doing their thing. Do you think the WPL has had like that sort of an butterfly effect on the domestic side of things?
I think it's familiarity. That's what I call. It's like once you know a road, you know how to drive in that road. When you don't know the road, you're still trying to navigate it. I think that is why I always say that it's an experience. Like once you know what is needed out of you, you go back and prepare in such a manner. And that's why you see players getting better and better. Like we've seen that like the last 3 seasons, we've seen players getting better and better because they know for the fact that actually they're supposed to be doing this. And also the franchise also give very clear instruction to the players what they need to go back and work. And that helps the players as well, because and again the players also have an open mindset, and being honest with players is also important, I feel, because when you are accepting saying that okay, I need to go and work on certain things, I think when players are having that open mindset, I think you're seeing a lot many difference as well. Like you're seeing there is a change in players approach, there is a change in players mindset as well in terms of how they approach the game. I think it's a lot to do, again I call this awareness, because awareness is something which I'm very fond of. I rate awareness ahead of skills, because the day you have awareness, I think you're evolving as a player as well. And that is something which we are seeing lately with the players in terms of having that awareness and knowing what their roles are. So the role clarity is also pretty much defined to players. I think that is helping the players as well.
And Vanita, sticking to that scouting bit itself, because you spoke about right now, game awareness is important more than the skill itself. But game awareness is something very subjective, right? You cannot quantify. You cannot say, okay, their game awareness is 8 out of 10, and this one's 9 out of 10. Strike rates, averages, these numbers, you can look at it objectively. You can say, okay, their strike rate is better, so they hit more boundaries or whatever it is that you want to look at. Now, that's where, as a scout, how do you look at these different data points? Because earlier also you mentioned that there are clear roles that are defined, especially when it comes to franchise tournaments, which is why it's different from international cricket. But even in those roles, let's say you're looking for a death bowler. So you want someone who has variation, someone who can bowl Yorkers and all of it. But how do you test them? Because trials is a different setting. Actual games, playing in front of thousands of people, screaming on top of their voices, that's a different setting. Then how do you gauge?
I mean, to be honest, I actually don't have an answer for that, because I always believe that it was my eye of spotting talents. And I clearly believe that maybe it's the wisdom that comes from my playing, the wisdom that comes from a lot of interaction with fellow coaches, fellow players, fellow scouts. I think there's a lot to it as well. And again, like I said, um, if anyone had asked me why did I go really hard for Kanika, um, the first season, I didn't have an answer for that. All I would just say is trust me, she's good, because I know in my head that she's actually extremely talented, who can actually access all areas. Single-handed, she can actually play single-handed sixes. I have seen that. But then for me to, like you say, quantify that, I need something substantial to show it, right? Even before they getting a big moment, how can I actually go and tell that? And that is when I think the player herself understood the importance of opportunity. And when she was sent in, I think she scored 47 or something. I think that was a turnaround. I still remember, I clearly remember Smriti was sitting in the dugout and she turned back and she said, you know what, you've done a very good job of picking these younger ones. And you know, for a moment you know for the fact that okay, you have done your bit. What was given to you, the role, you have done your bit. And again, if you ask me how, why, I may not be able to give you an explanation, but yes, there will be some sort of a theory within me. I always believe that this player, like I said, the numbers may not back that player, but the intent part is something which I clearly look at. I look at their body language, I look at their gesture, I look at, like I said, the awareness. Like for example, if the player is not able to execute but still intending to play that shot, for me that's a tick. Tick. That's. I mean, she's cleared that for me. Very, very, very simple, because she had the thought in place. So that is something which I call awareness, right? Again, bowling, she may not be able to execute, or even if she's executed, the fielders may not back her, right? Now that again is awareness. And then like she's bowling a googly, for me, that's a tick mark, right? So these are the aspects what you need to see. Okay, this elements that he or she has, and she will be ready to play in this role. And again it is on the onus of coaches and the team management to extract how to get the best out of a player, the player as the substance. Now it is up to the team management. Like I said, again, I understand the teams are not there to develop players, they need to be ready. But again, it is about how can you get the best out of players, from especially the rookies, from amateurs. Like how can you get the best out of them? And it is completely on the team management as well.
Just adding to that once again, Vanita, like Kanika Ahuja, I mean, it's a name. It's almost. I hope it doesn't become a what if, because unfortunately injuries, have plagued her career in the last couple of years. Because I really thought she was someone who would be making a name for herself, for Team India as well. Hasn't been the case so far. Fingers crossed, we'll see her soon enough. But you spoke about these things, right? Like, for instance, Kanika, she is rare in the fact that despite being so short in stature, people might think, oh, that's a disadvantage. But the way she accesses areas behind square, with the scoops, with the very unorthodox way of shuffling and doing these things, not a lot of people can do. When you say that, of course, I agree with you. We cannot objectively look at it, and certain things cannot be explained or described. You look at it, you have a gut instinct, and you back it. But to what extent then do you back your instinct? Like, do you back your instinct every time, or there are certain occasions where your instinct might be saying one thing, but data clearly points towards a completely different thing? For instance, instinctively you might not find a player to be suited for your team, but data clearly shows that this is the kind of player you want. How often then do you side with instinct?
It happens as a tough call you need to make at times, because see, not every time I can go instinctively, not every time I can go data driven, right? So there has to be a mix. That is when I feel the wisdom comes in, that is when the team comes in, that is when your analyst comes in, that is where your fellow people comes in, jumps in. And then when you sit in a group, because you are not the only decision maker, right? So you have multiple people there sitting and sharing thoughts, sitting and sharing ideas. How are we going to do it? What are the ifs and buts? So when you sit down and talk, right, you will be at the end of the day, trust me, convinced for the fact that whether are we going in for that player or not. I think that is where that's the kind of conviction you need to have when you come out of the room. And I think for that you need to go in with a little bit of open mindset as well, to be honest, like saying that yes, not every time we make the best decision, yes, not every time we what we think may come good. I think it's a little bit to do with within as well, saying that we may not be able to get the player that we're chasing, but are we okay to settle with the next best that we have? And if so, how can we fit that player in the role that we're actually looking at? I think it's a lot to do with that as well.
You've mentioned so many names over here. You spoke about Malo as well, who's been a very intrinsic part of RCB for the better part of the last 5 seasons across both men's and women's cricket. Then how big of a role does a scout play when it comes to shaping squads? Inaugural season, the auctions when announced, you guys have to pick players. Of course, you would be giving in your names, but when that back and forth happens, how big of a role does the scout themselves play? That you have to go for this player and stuff like that.
Not majorly, as far as I know, with the WP, I mean with RCB, not majorly. It's just that yes, as scouts we all have meetings, and we have to submit the names. And because I was part of the decision making and the planning, it was a different role that was given to me. But yes, the other scouts, they have to, like, they all sit in and discuss the names and give the best. And then finally, end of the day, it's the head coach and the captain, along with the think tank, that actually take a call saying that so and so player will fit in. But like I said, if I say I need all rounders, I should be able to have five all rounders in my name when the captain asks for all rounders, or when the head coach asks for an all rounder, right? So that's the role of a scout that comes in there till there. And after that, once that procedure is done, I think it's purely the call of head coaches. And now after the first season, it is the captains who's actually taking a shot, and rightly so, because you need to give the team what the captains are wanting. End of the day, they are the ones who are leading the troop. They are the ones who are leading the team out there. So it is important to give the captain the comfort and give her the best team, give him the best team, and say, okay, this is what you asked for. Now get me the result that you want. So that becomes a lot more accountable, rather than selecting a team where the captains doesn't have the consent. I'm talking things in general here. So it's important to give captain that cushioning of giving him or her the best team. And we are seeing that with Rohit Sharma as well. I think every time he's got his team, he's gone out there and he's performed, and he's got his two trophies, ICC trophies. It's not a joke. I think that's how you need to look at it. It's important to give captain that the cushion of the kind of players that they're asking for, because they do have a plan and you need to back that.
I mean, so far, Vanita has just been such a masterclass in coaching, scouting, and all things cricket. And I'm sure Akshay will agree with me that if given another 5 hours, also our questions would probably not stop. But clearly, like as you mentioned, right, there's no dearth in talent when we look at it across the country as well. And now we see the sprouting of so many local and state leagues as well, right? We've had the Bengal Pro T20 League, you have the Maharashtra Premier League, right here in Karnataka as well. We have the Maharani Trophy that's going on as we speak. So, how happy were you with the development of this league, and how important do you think it's even for the pipeline, right? The talent pipeline, that you have something to look forward to and probably play there.
I think it's a fantastic initiative. Firstly, I have to mention Maharashtra. I think they came out, and even the Delhi Premier League. I think they have a very high price slab as well for players. I think they earn more than what they earn in WPL. To be honest, some of them like Tanisha. I think she's gone for 13-14 lakhs. I think that's more than what they get in WPL for an uncapped player. I mean, having said that, I think finally even APL happens for women's team as well in Andhra Premier League. And finally, it was about due, and it was time that the KSA officials made this call. But yes, honestly, I was very disappointed with KSA for not having developing or not having developed women's cricket. It's if you ask me, in my opinion, it's a step back that KSA is not coming forward to support women cricketers as much as you would actually want from a bigger association like a KSA. They have been on the on I would clearly say that we are still back in terms of actually backing the talent, in terms of actually nurturing the talent, in terms of supporting women's cricket. Clearly there is no support for women's cricket in Karnataka cricket, if you actually ask me. And maybe with Maharani, hopefully there is some consistency happening, because it was supposed to happen last year, which did not take place because of KSA, which is sad. Like I said, it is not the KSA which is actually at loss. It is the players who's actually missing out on playing good cricket. And I'm glad that they finally made the decision of coming out and coming out with Maharani. And yeah, Maharani, I honestly speaking, before Maharani, actually, I was looking after one of our clubs called Swastik Union too, where I had the fortune of actually seeing some of lovely talent, someone like a Lianka, who's been fantastic. She was also part of under 15 camp, high performance camp that I did, and I had my eyes on her. And I told, like, I remember calling up Irfan Saran and saying him, "Sir, I don't know what you'll do. I want Lianka in this team, because I feel this girl is ready to play top level cricket. And I think one day I won't be surprised if she goes on to play for India, because she has a substance." And then there's another cricketer, Rachita, brilliant wicket keeper and a bat. I think today also she scored some 50 odd, if I'm not wrong, 40 or 50. Yesterday also she was not out. I think at this young age, that girl, like these girls are 15 years, trust me, 14, 15 years, that's about it. And at this young age, they have that substance. And like I said, this is what I look at it. This is the eye I have for talent. They may not, numbers may not back them, but then the kind of cricketing shots that they play, for me that's always a tick mark, because once you have a conventional cricketing shots, it's all about improvising. And these girls, like I mentioned, these girls, and there's another fantastic cricketer called Karnika. Oh, I think for me that was like wow, like 15 years, these cricketers are brilliant. Like, I did not expect the skill sets that they have. Trust me, like I mentioned, like one is a wicket keeper bat, one is a top order bat, another is actually a medium pace all rounder. So now we have the talent. It is up to KC, and how it is up to the system, how they're gonna actually handle these cricketers. Because it is important to give them exposure at a very young age, because KCA do have a rule saying that they don't allow for senior cricketers who's below 17, things like the 17 or 18, things like that. It is important that the KSA looks into these aspects, because you have some of exceptional talents actually. So you just need to back it. And I really hope KSA comes forward and actually takes an initiative of actually backing these younger girls. You never know, we might see a Shafali very soon. Or you never know, we might see a Richa Ghosh very soon. But it's about giving them the opportunity at a very, very young age.
Yeah, Vanita, I think we'll probably keep our fingers crossed that this happens in the time going ahead as well. But just looking at this, right now, when you look at the domestic side of things, probably Karnataka has fallen back a little. You see other teams like, Madhya Pradesh, you have Bengal, you have, even J&K doing so well domestically, but somewhere, Karnataka is not able to perform up to their potential in spite of having all of these talents. So if you were to put it in perspective, what do you think the KSCA can do better to, kind of ensure that the
KC
talent
has
is
to do. No, I'm being very critical. I'm being very bitter here. KC has to do a lot more better than what they're doing right now. Simply because you cannot have a 1 week camp before a state team is announced and then expect them to actually go out there and win cups. And a lot of credit has to go to Veda for the fact that she's handled the team really well. Back to back, the team has reached finals all by herself under different coaches. Every year the coaches has been changing. Last 4 years, last four coaches for senior team. You may probably end up seeing another coach the fifth year. So fifth coach. So I think there is something wrong with the system. There is something wrong in KCA that needs to be changed, I guess. And hopefully the officials there will take a call in terms of how they want to approach. But having said that, there is a lot of talent. I really hope KCA doesn't miss out on identifying these talents, because it is important for us to nurture the talents. Because like we were earlier, we never had the talent, but we had somebody who could manage the team very well. Like I said, Veda handled the team very well. Taking the team to finals back to back wasn't an easy thing. And after that, what has happened to KC? We've never had off season camps. We've never had a developmental camps. And when you spoke about Madhya Pradesh, you spoke about JNK. Why are they doing well? You go back and see the kind of work that they put in the off season. You go back and see the kind of backing that they get from the association through the year. I think that is something which is missing for an association like us, which has huge talent. Like the girls are filled in talent, but we're still not able to make the best use of it. Is only because of these small things that is happening. Hopefully, if that those things are corrected, I think KCA should be able to come out and support the girls, because there is no question about the fan following us as well. And we see that every year KCA has been the host for the last 2 years for RCB as well. They are seeing a lot of people turning up for the game for women's team as well. I think that should only encourage them to go out there and actually support women cricketers more often than what they've been doing the last 4 years.
When you look at some of these better sides, the likes of MP and all of them, is there anything that you've seen them do differently from the setup over here? You spoke about camps that just the 1 week camp before the tournament would not cut it. So what are they doing differently that you think is making them much better than some of the lesser performing sides?
I said someone like an Andhra Association is doing a wonderful job for women cricketers. I think they have a separate academy set up for them, where they can actually go and access the association facilities through the year. I think credit to the association and the management there for actually handling women cricketers with a lot of respect, which, to be honest, I don't see that is happening in KC. Every time, first thing that you get an answer from KC is a no. Every time you go and ask something from KC is a no. I think these are the things that needs to be made. These changes has to be bought in, to be honest, and that is why you see other associations like Andhra. So yeah, just to complete that, I think other association are doing their bit in terms of developing women cricketers. I think the bigger association, if I have to say, someone like a KC and not putting their foot forward is a big disappointment. To be honest, I think when I was playing for Bengal as well, I think I saw one of the best setup in India, like the infrastructure wise, the facility wise, the planning wise, the periodization wise. I think Bengal also is top notch. That is why you see them often reaching the top four every season, time and again, is only because for the fact that they believe a lot in preparation, and that is something which is missing in KSA. And it's about time that they start giving that importance to the players as well. That's something which I strongly believe.
Andhra. Like I remember last year, they also brought in someone like a Mithali Raj, who is the mentor for women's cricket operations, something on those lines. In the film industry, there's this sort of phrase, female characters written by female writers. Similarly, how big of a role do you think does it play for women's cricket if they're being led or being taken care of by women's cricketers, be it ex-cricketers or be it just women of any kind? Do you think that also plays a role somewhere?
Of course, I'm being very honest. I think Mithali guided me a lot the last year, especially the kind of experience that she has. I've always reached out to her if I had to make any tough calls. I've always reached out to her if I had to discuss any sort of a tactical thing. And for me, I'm a little selfish in this that I want to extract the maximum from Mithali's experience. Yes, I have played alongside her. That was a different ball game. I think when you have someone like a Mathali working for your association, all I keep telling players is just go and make use of it. Like I don't think so. Everybody gets this opportunity to actually get to interact with legends like Mathali. I think Andhra is very in that case, you Andhra girls are very fortunate that they have Mithali on board, and I think for me also, she's always been a great support. Like anytime if there is anything, I've always reached out to her. Even right while playing also, like from my playing days, if there's something that I've got stuck onto, I've always reached out to her. And every time she's been that person where I've always reached out to. And it's the same even now. I think all I tell players again is Andhra is fortunate to actually have someone like her, is only because not every time you get someone who's played I cannot even describe about how she's played, because everybody knows that what she's done for country.
Of course.
I think Andhra is very lucky in that sense that we have someone like Mithali on board who's available for all, not only for seniors, for all age group. I think also she's doing a fantastic job being involved in every decision, being part of every camp, being part of every age group, every team, every tour. I think she's doing a great job.
How important do you think it is for players from uh, states that aren't traditional powerhouses, so to say? We've seen Sri Charni from Andhra, we've seen Kranti Gaud from MP, we've seen so many players coming in from these lesser known places. Do you think that is also just as important as developing women's cricketers in general from the Indian ecosystem?
Of course, I think it is again the structure that has come from. I can say that say that I know for the fact that what Andhra does for their players, and that is one of the reasons why I said that you have more players. You will see more players going on to represent, and then obviously MP doing very well. They won the last season, and then under 23 they won the previous year. Under 19 they won previous year. So it's like three back-to-back trophies they have, and you will obviously it was about time that one of their player was going on to represent country. And likewise, Andhra, yes, the result may not have been like we lost in quarterfinals, but then overall, if you look at it, the number wise, the team has done really well the last season, and that is something. It just didn't happen overnight. Trust me, it was the work that they put through the year from the players as well. A lot of credit has to go to players because and the structure that they have in place. So, and on the other side, Karnataka has always been fortunate that they all go to a privileged camp. So it's more about personal training. But again, like I say, I know it's disappointing to say this again and again. Association is hardly, barely doing anything for players. And I think if they can actually do something for players, you will see more and more cricketers representing from Karnataka for the Indian team.
Yeah, and I mean, just talking about the plethora of players, we have across the nation. I think one of the burning questions is how is India's World Cup squad shaping? Like we have the home ODI World Cup. I'm sure Vanita, you're very excited to see. I think a lot of us fans, probably even armchair critics, just feel this could possibly be that sort of an 83 moment for Indian women's cricket as well. So again, for you, right, personally, as a player, as a fan, as a coach, like how are you just looking at this panning out? Do you think India has it in them to go all the way, or are you going to just hold your horses and see how the squad is selected and make your decision based on that?
I think I'm gonna tell everybody now to stop having that excitement and hype this tournament, because I mean I'm someone who's very superstitious, right? So I wouldn't want to see what happened to us when we played the last World Cup. So, I mean, I just want to break the jinx and say, okay, guys, listen, let it be just another tournament that we're playing. As it is, Indian team is doing extremely well currently at the moment. I think they're playing the best cricket the last 6 8 months, and all we hope is that the team does well, and we just want the trophy, guys. That's it. That's what we all of us are looking for. I think under 19 girls have been doing that from last 2 years. Hopefully, it's about time that our senior girls also. Give us that joy and pleasure to lift that trophy. I think BCCI knows as all the trophies now, T20 Champions Trophy, under 19, and I think it's about time that we have senior women's trophy as well. And I'm sure that the team is preparing well and ready to go for another shot at the World Cup. With a lot of things, what BCCI is doing for women's cricket, I think the team is preparing well. Hopefully, it's gonna be an amazing outing for us and lift the trophy.
Yeah, we
Hopefully the final happens here, Bangalore, and we all get to see that. Hopefully things are, not going out of Bangalore. That's another hope that I have as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. First of all, 25 has been the year of first across sports. And we've already seen Smriti score her first T20 ITA. We've seen India win their first ever T20I series in England. So, yeah, hope we can always be hopeful. But like
You
Vanita said,
forgot to mention about first time RCB winning as well in 2025.
I was, I was trying to stay out of it. But of course, that also goes without saying. Last bit, Vanita, so many names coming up in the circuit. As a scout, what are the few names that you are excited for, going forward, be it the WPL and Team India?
Well, we already have Charni. Like Charni, is someone I actually thought would go on to make it big, and I'm glad that she's up there. And like I said, I'm also excited to see someone like a Nikki Prasad from Karnataka, who's up there in the radar. I think she's doing extremely well as well. We saw that in those glimpses in WPL as well. Nikki is someone I'm actually really looking forward to see that, and yeah, like these are the two names I can actually think of at the moment, who's up there ready to play. But yeah, we do have quite a lot of youngsters. Like I mentioned, someone like, the three names that I mentioned from Karnataka itself. You never know, the next 5 6 years plan they might be, or the next under 19 World Cup they might be in that cycle as well. Hopefully, people here handle her pretty well. um, there is no shortage of talent right now, trust me. It's all about how we can handle them, and I'm sure the COE and BCC are doing a fantastic job in terms of identifying the talent, because that is where you see our under 19 pool is extremely strong. And it's just that how from here on, like, the selectors are also going to handle the players. That is also very, very important.
There's clearly a lot of momentum right now, Anita, which is why it's important for us to strike when that rod is hot. But how do you then see this going forward in the near future? What do you think should be the next step so that, whatever momentum that's been created so far through the WPL, through the performances, through the pipeline that's been built, how do you ensure that this doesn't fizzle out so soon?
See, a graph is going to come up or go down, or rather, when it's up, it's going to go down, right? And it's going to come up again. um Again, it's about structure. When you have the right structure in place, when you have the right people handling right things, I think everything will fall in place. And right now, like I said, women's cricket in India is an upward, and and we are probably living the best life what anyone could have imagined. 10 years, 15 years back, if you had asked us this, I would have still said I want to hold on to a law degree, because probably that can be my career and that could have been my future. For the fact that, how things were 10, 15 years back. But now people have started going to homeschooling. People are like, no, we don't want to go to college. We don't want to go to school because we want to focus on cricket. So we are in that era right now. And like I said, there won't be any shortage of talent. It's about how can we continuously have a structure in place. The structure is going to be a big question now. How are we going to keep the talents in a streamline where you are not running out of it, or you're not gassed out at a moment where you really need one. So it's important to keep the talent streamlined, streamlined and important to actually have everything organized. And that is what I see the next 5 years should be all about, managing these aspects. And I'm sure you will see more and more talents coming from a lot of states. We saw that what happened in 2017. We saw what happened. I mean, I was someone who took the sport very seriously after 2003 World Cup when India reached the finals in South Africa. And 2017, we saw what happened to the entire women cricketers and women cricket fraternity, right? And 2020 also, but then COVID somewhat took a back step. I think 2020 also was a great step for women to actually, I thought they personally did well. And another moment which has stuck with me forever is PV Sindhu actually winning that silver medal. I saw a lot of people actually going out there and enrolling themselves for academies, that they want to become the next PV Sindhu. I think why I'm insisting this again is a World Cups are gonna decide the next 5 year cycle for you. So it is important that that is why I said I really hope and wish that the Indian team does really well, because a lot of things are on the pipeline for women cricketers. If they do well, a lot of things are going to be streamlined, and people are going to have a wonderful careers here if actually the Indian team does well. It's not a pressure, but I would say treat it as a pleasure.
No, 100%. On that note of optimism, I think it is time for us also to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much, Vanitha. Both of us, we
Thank you.
enjoyed and learned a lot, asking you so many questions. Apologies if we've annoyed you with this. And
That's
hopefully
all
we
right.
and fingers crossed, of course, like you said, we all are rooting for Team India and let the Chinnaswamy Stadium see India's first ever trophy come home. Thank you so much, all of you folks tuning in. Please, like always, make sure you've hit the like button. And of course, share it with your folks who follow Vanitha VR on Instagram as well. And until then, it's a goodbye from all of us.